Good afternoon, all. Welcome to November's Network Tech Talk. So great seeing everyone this afternoon. For those of you who have not attended in the past, Central Maine Network Tech Talk is a monthly event where founders and leaders share advice on how they overcame challenges, capitalized on their target market, and developed their product, providing you with actionable insight for your own products and processes. For more information, you can find us on Facebook or online at centralmaine.org under our Tech Night tab. I'd like to thank our sponsors for this afternoon's conversation. This free event is presented by Central Maine Growth Council and is sponsored by CGI, Valley Beverage, Thomas College's Harold Alphon Institute for Business Innovation, and Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space. In addition, I'd like to say hello to folks watching remotely at home or from their office. This Tech Talk is being streamed live and will be available for later viewing on our YouTube channel. This afternoon's Tech Talk is presented by CourseStorm, making education more accessible. In this Network Tech Talk, Brian will discuss how CourseStorm is empowering education institutions to increase enrollments through online class registration software, streamlining access to education for all. For those not familiar with CourseStorm, CourseStorm is an Orono, Maine-based software company that provides cloud-based registration software to educational institutions through customized registration forms. And with that, I will pass it over to Brian. Brian, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate the opportunity. So yeah, I'd love to kick things off. As Sabrina said, I'm Brian Rahill. I'm the CEO of CourseStorm, and we are an Orono-based software as a service startup company that focuses on education and connecting people to education. So for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we started, a little bit about our kind of origin story and how we got the genesis of the idea. I'll show you a bit about the software, and then in the sort of lessons learned section, I'd love to share some of the things that I've learned as an entrepreneur, and in hopes that it inspires someone else and helps them make just a couple fewer mistakes than maybe we made early on. So to start, I want to talk about our purpose as an organization, and there's really two parts of this. There's what we do, and then why we do it. And the what is this streamlining access to education. And that's, there's a bit to unpack there, but ultimately what we're focused on is making it really easy for people to get access to the education that they need. And the reason for that is we recognize that education is such a driver for people to grow personally and professionally, and is so important for economic growth in our communities. So we want to be that that organization, that company, that software that makes it really easy for someone who is on a personal journey, who is growing professionally, to get access to that education. And what we found is that there's a lot of barriers in front of people, and especially lots of the groups that we serve, there's untold sort of challenges. And if we can remove just some of those barriers and connect more people to education, we're going to help empower them. So that's really critical and really central as we start to think about the reasons we do the work and what we do. So CourseStorm, the nuts and bolts, is we are a registration and marketing software. And in particular, we're designed for small to medium-sized businesses. So we're working with lots of different names in the sort of, again, that small business education provider, and particularly focused on informal education. So I'm gonna unpack that a little bit as well. What do we mean by informal education? But since we're focused on informal education, the key for us in working with these small businesses is to keep CourseStorm simple and to keep it affordable. And so we've got this unique pricing model. We've got unique software that makes it really easy for these organizations and for their students to get access. So how did we get started? I'm going to start with a little bit about me. And you can see a picture of me there, as well as my co-founder, Matt James. I'll get to him in a minute. But I moved to Maine in 2000, so did not grow up here. Grew up in New Jersey, and then lived in Ohio for a number of years while I was working on a master's degree at Ohio State. But got here as quickly as I could, as I like to say. And we moved here because my spouse is a professor at the university. And so while she was working and doing her job at the university when we first moved here, I was a stay-at-home dad. So I took care. We had three children, three young children at that moment, and I was caring for them while at the same time trying to start a web development company. And so that was it's a bit crazy times. I didn't sleep much. I don't think my spouse slept much either during those early days. But the internet was a really exciting place, and I was changing careers from being an actual scientist working in a research lab to just really being enticed by the internet and the power of the internet to make so many things smoother and easier. So I started a web development company, particularly focused on higher education. So we were working with colleges and universities and then K through 12 schools to help them improve their web presence. And then we made software to make it easy for them to manage their data. So we're kind of working on that. My co-founder and I continuing to, again, service all of these different types of customers in this traditional education space. At the same time, since I was changing careers and the internet was continually changing, we were constantly learning. So we were finding ways to continue to educate ourselves, whether it was in software development or business management. We were learning, all the time. And so that was really important to both of us. And one of the things that we started to learn was there was education happening outside these institutions. Like there was tremendous amount of educational content and classes that could help you start a new business, that could help you learn software development or engineering. And this was all happening largely outside traditional education. And today, like this is some of what this looks like. These are all classes like CNC machining or certified nurse assistant, music education, arts and crafts, phlebotomy tech, photography, woodworking. All of these classes are being offered all across the US and largely outside of what we traditionally think of as education, our educational organizations. So this was an incredible epiphany to us. Wow, people are educating themselves across a lifetime, and it's happening in like all these little pockets of education. It's being provided by libraries, hospitals, museums, community-based nonprofits, art centers, all over the place. And then, people are, again, learning throughout their entire life. So that was an epiphany. We started digging in this a little bit deeper. My co-founder and I were starting to research this and see like, what are the problems with this market? How come no one really knows about what's going on here? And we found out that it's actually the enrollments in this kind of education are twice the amount of enrollments in traditional education. And that's a pretty staggering statistic to get your mind around. You think that really can't be. But if you think about traditional education happens your first 12 years of your life, or, if you do 12 years of education or 16 years, or maybe you go on for a more advanced degree, but it doesn't end. 16 years of education is not the end. People don't stop learning. And so they're continually registering and enrolling to grow professionally, to change jobs. And with the rapid pace of job changes that happen, people are constantly having to reskill and upskill, or they're just really curious about something and they're looking to just improve their lives. So CourseStorm is touching on all of these different types of markets here. And taken together, we really focus on sort of three core areas. We focus on community education, which includes like kids camps and classes and personal interest classes for adults. Workforce training, which is again certificate programs that generally lead to a job. So someone's going to become a nurse assistant or a phlebotomy tech or a forklift operator. They'll take a short class and it'll lead directly to a job. And then there's the arts and culture space. What we've found is as arts programs have been removed from schools, there's an increasing interest in getting that enrichment for youth. And then adults who are taking acting classes or are just exploring some personal interest in the arts and culture space. So those sort of three big areas that we focus on. And taken together, there's about $8 billion a year spent on this market. And, again, incredible amount of opportunity and activity in this. So what these organizations are doing now. So if we think about, all right, how are they enrolling students? How does this work? There's about 750,000 of these organizations all across the US. Again, take all of these small sort of nonprofits or community-based organizations, and there are numbers in your town right now. There's about 750,000 just across the US. And they're using paper, like lots and lots of paper. There's still an incredible amount of paper registration happening. The more sophisticated ones are using Excel spreadsheets and like multiple Excel spreadsheets just to register and keep track of students in their classes. And we call that Excel hell at CourseStorm. So that's one of the problems we saw. We get them out of Excel hell. And then some are using software that wasn't really built for class registration. So they might be using Eventbrite, or they might be, which is great for event registration, not so good if you have a catalog of classes. They will frequently find them using things like Shopify, shopping cart software, perfect for selling t-shirts or physical goods, not so great if you're trying to sell and enroll students for classes. So, our goal is to eliminate this, and these inefficient processes not only hurt the organizations and make it really difficult for them, but it also hurts the students that are trying to register and enroll, because it's just that first barrier. If someone sees something that they're interested in, and then they have to go through this gauntlet of registering and paying and enrolling, and that's enough of a barrier that it prevents people from getting the education they need. So I'll show you a little bit about what this looks like. So this is an example CourseStorm customer. This is Indian Capital Technology Center in Oklahoma. And they provide lots of technical training for adults in their community. And they've got 4 different campuses. And so when an organization signs up for CourseStorm, they add their own classes to our system. And it automatically builds a course catalog and marketing website for these organizations. So they've got a welding class here. They then drive students to those catalog websites. So they'll promote it and drive students to it. Students see something that they're interested in, a few clicks, they can read about the program, they can click the register button and check out all the way to sort of payment and enrollment. So it's a really smooth, really seamless, mobile-friendly checkout process for the students. Again, that's streamlining. That's what we're focused on here. They get an email confirmation, the organization gets an email confirmation, they get put on the roster. And then there's a whole administration area that organizations use to just see who's enrolled in which classes. Do I have anyone on the wait list? And they can do things like transfer students, process refunds, communicate with students. So there's instructor login components where instructors can continue to communicate with students. And then see an entire history of the student's educational journey with their organization. And uniquely, this might not seem like rocket science. Like, okay, this is pretty simple, and it's specifically designed to be that way. But this is a total game changer for the organizations that we work with, to have these simple but advanced tools at their disposal. Enables them to enroll more students, enables them to more efficiently process the students that do enroll, and allows them to focus on what they're really good at, which is providing the education. And so we're focused on the registration, the payment, and some assistance with the marketing, where they're focused on the teaching and the learning part. So I sort of mentioned this, assistance with the marketing, and I said we're a registration and marketing platform. And that's built into our model because we want these organizations to grow. We want them to reach more students and enroll more students. Our whole mission, again, is that streamlining access to education. So what we've done is built in best practices for these organizations to market their classes. And a couple of these, here's one for, we keep track of what students enroll in. And if an organization wants us to, we can do an automated email marketing to these students. So someone who typically signs up for certain types of classes, when there's a new offering of that organization, we will automatically email them that a new offering's come up that they might be interested in. So they're constantly getting, drips of interesting classes. It helps the students because they're able to see what's being offered, and it helps the organization. And then things like, if someone starts a registration and they get busy, I've had this happen to me multiple times in my life. Life happens. We'll email if they stop the registration, they don't go all the way through. We'll email them 24 hours later and say, hey, here's a link. You can pick up right where you left off. So these are just like a couple of small ways that we're helping organizations reach more students and streamline that process. And what we find is actually about 15% of the registrations come from just a couple of these features here, these automated marketing. So the organizations don't have to do anything else. They're already completely swamped with everything else they have to do. So they don't have to know any marketing. They don't have to do anything else. It's just completely automated. So overall, we've helped lots of customers. As I said, they're sort of small to medium-sized businesses all across the US. And we've got over 600 customers in every single state. So we've helped connect students to education in every single state. In fact, we've made 750,000 connections to date. So that's getting students into classes and, again, empowering them on their personal growth journey. So we're really proud to have done all of that. But when I kind of put out a number there of like, oh, it's 750,000, it's sometimes like hard to get your head around what that is. And, like how much is that? How important is that? And the way we break it down at CourseStorm is we start to think about the individual connections that we're making. And I've got a few of those here. And it can show you the sort of breadth of the education that we're helping people connect to. And so these are some that we've done just recently. We're doing more than 15,000 every single month. But here is like Emily in New York took a childbirth preparation class and registered through our system. We've got Keon in Ohio doing toddler and parent swim lessons. Mary Jo in Texas, K through third grader, crazy fun coding. So that's pretty cool. Thinking about coding for K through third graders. We've got, let's see, Sanvi in Tennessee doing miniature clay marvels, and Sophia in Washington doing stage fighting, slaps, punches, and kicks. That sounds like a fun class. There's basic English as a second language in Massachusetts, and Anthony signed up for that. And then Nina did Mandarin classes and registered using our system in New Jersey. We've got Dewan forklift training. So I talked about that, these workforce training classes and certificates. Monica, emergency medical responder. So these are jobs, these are people getting the education and then again, moving right on into jobs. Eileen in Florida took a de-escalation techniques training. This was actually offered through Sheriff's Department. So nothing kind of more timely than some of these topics. And then finally, right here in Maine, we had someone take a retirement planning class. So offered through one of our senior colleges. So if you just think about like 750,000 connections at CourseStorm, this is, I don't know, 10 of them or so, that, and it's across a whole lifetime, everything from childbirth prep all the way to retirement planning. And you think about those small connections we're able to make and able to ease people into this education. I'm proud of the impact we're making as a company and how our software is doing that. So we've got a heavy goal for ourselves. We've done 750,000 registrations so far, but our target is 3 million connections by the end of 2025, and we're on that path. That's a lot of growth over the next few years. In fact, it's going to require us to go through 2 more doublings. So I think 750 go to 1.5 million in a year or 2, and then 3 million in a couple of years. So that's that's going to require a lot of stretching, and but we're hitting that target, and we're growing rapidly. And again, for us, the ability to make that impact of 3 million students and what that means and the effects on people's lives is really the most important thing. So I'm gonna pause there. That's a bit of talking from me before I move on to the lessons learned, and I'm happy to take a few questions about our journey thus far.
Hey, Brian. Really incredible presentation we're seeing so far. It's really interesting to see the connection that you've had between the marketing side and also the registration side. I'm curious to hear kind of your point of view and your perspective on the recent shift to rural remote workers and how you believe that might affect a lot of the usage of CourseStorm and where you see that application, especially in workforce development and a lot of the trade professions that we have in Maine and around the country. What are your thoughts?
I would say most of the organizations that we are working with they're existing in all these different small towns. So as people, whether they're staying in place or moving to rural communities, getting access to what education is available in their community is really key. And I think we're helping to support that. So you definitely don't need to be in a major metropolitan area to get access to this. We've also, as everything moved virtually, we've enabled ways for people to get access to this remotely. So a lot of these are in-person classes. You don't learn to drive a forklift, through Zoom, or if you do, you might question that skill. But there's lots happening as well that's virtually. So we found a lot of our organizations that were doing in-person classes did move them to a virtual format. And they found that they were then getting connections from people anywhere in the US, which was really cool. They were providing this training before right in their local community, and then they opened it up and got lots of connections just all across.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Brian, I have a quick question for you. Great presentation. I really have enjoyed listening to your journey and along the way, knowing the story early on. Can you talk a little bit about maybe your software and if you utilized any integrations with other products, like from maybe your payment processing and that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. We can't do it all. And so our focus is on this course registration. So we've got a couple of different integrations on the technology side. We do use Stripe as our payment processor, and we have a unique relationship with Stripe. So we have what's called a connect account. So we're able to get someone credit card processing like that. If you signed up to use CourseStorm, you could get access to credit card processing under a minute, essentially. Like you do it, you fill out a few details of where we're going to route the funds, and we can get approval for you, like right in that same screen. And if you've ever run a business and done credit card processing in the past, it used to be quite the process of underwriting and all this stuff to get access to credit cards. So we sort of wrap that all up in one simple package, which is really key for our organizations. They don't have to think about separate credit card processing. They don't have to think about separate application. It happens all right in CourseStorm. That's a key one for us. We obviously, on the technology stack too, we use things like Amazon Web Services to be able to scale things really rapidly. So we do have some of our customers. We've got a couple that are like, I'm going to take 500 registrations in 30 seconds. Like once this thing opens up, I need everyone's going to come and they're going to register for this. So, there are times like that where we're processing thousands of registrations in a really brief amount of time, and we're able to scale really rapidly there. But then, I mentioned we're on the class registration side, and we're not trying to be everything. We're not a donation system. We're not a ticketing system. And sometimes people ask us, can't you do that and whatnot? We're really focused on, again, that streamlining access to education, being that class registration management and marketing platform. So we've had some great integrations as well. We integrate with some ticketing systems. So in the arts and culture space, if someone's managing a theater and they want to do take tickets, we're not a ticketing system. We're not trying to be a ticketing system, but frequently they're a theater that has ticketing, and they also provide education. So we suggest use the best-in-class software for both of those, and we've integrated so that the data can all be in one place.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer. Very thoughtful.
Sure.
Ryan, thank you. It was great. A somewhat similar question to Sabrina, and thank you for that fintech lens as well. That was great. Interested to hear about what the market size and competition was, both pre-COVID and today, and what that shift has meant for CourseStorm and you.
Yeah, so as I said, the ones, the organizations that we're focused on, we know that there's a little under 1 million of those organizations, maybe 750,000, and the spend is tremendous there. And that's just focusing on sort of three different markets. And if you think about one of the things my co-founder Matt likes to say, and he's been such an important part of the journey. If you think about like Shopify, if you ask the Shopify CEO, like how big can Shopify get? And his answer is like, how big is commerce? And so there, that's similar to what CourseStorm could do. If you think about like, how big could CourseStorm get? Like, how big is education? How big is lifelong learning? It's tremendous. And so while we're right now focused on these three markets, it is happening in corporate training. It's happening in healthcare. It is happening in community colleges, like happening all over the place. So we have to focus, we have to maintain that focus, but we see successive shifts to adjacent markets to start to serve those needs as well. So that's kind of market size. Competition, there's a tremendous amount of competition for this. Like and yeah, like we sort of stumbled upon it and recognized the power here, but we've got, I don't know, 35, 40 competitors, direct competitors that have registration systems. Some of them built them way earlier than we did. None of them have the unique business model, the streamlined registration system, all and payment processing all built into one. So that's key for us, but I'm sure we'll run into similar competitors as well. One of the things I didn't mention, I talk about the business model a little bit. It aligns really well with our desire to grow those programs and make more connections, because we actually only get paid when we help someone register for a class. We take a cut of the transaction. So organizations aren't paying us some monthly fee. They're not paying us like huge upfront costs. We are making our money on actually connecting a student to some education. And when that happens, we take a small cut of the transaction. So we actually are never in a position to send them a bill. We just send them money. We take the cut of the transaction and we transfer the funds to the educational organization.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for that kind of tie-in on the business model there too.
Yeah, sure. All right. I'll move on to some lessons learned, and I'm happy to, take more questions at the end. So this has obviously been a journey for me across a couple of companies. And I think I probably didn't make some of that clear when I started the web development company and was working with higher education organizations. Once my co-founder and I hit on this tremendous opportunity of informal ed and the numbers of registrations that are happening there, eventually we sold my first company and went full on into CourseStorm. So that was a bit of a transition, and but once we saw that opportunity was available, it was time to really focus. So I've gone through that process and again learned lots along the way. One of the first lessons I've learned is it's not the idea, but it's really how you execute on the idea. Sometimes I talk to early stage entrepreneurs and or people with a good idea, and they would like you to sign like a non-disclosure agreement or something to just even talk about the idea. It's generally what I found, certainly in the software world, that everyone's had the idea, or lots of other people have had this idea. It's just, can you actually execute on the idea? And I think it comes down to a couple of things. Certainly as a startup, it's coming down for us is how fast can you learn? And then can you maintain that focus? I've talked about focus a couple of times. But one of the things that we used to learn early on, and I know that, if any other entrepreneurs are listening, you've probably heard of minimum viable product. University of Maine talks about fail fast, fail cheap. So how do you get out to market quickly and determine if your idea is a good idea and is it really serving, solving a problem for the organizations. So that's what we did. We initially had a plan to spend a year and a half in dark mode, coding a whole thing, and then rolling out this massive system. And once we started learning more about MVP, we realized, oh, we need to just get this to market very quickly. So we cut our timeline down to about 3 months, built a really, really simple product. And what we rolled out was what's sort of called the Wizard of Oz MVP. And so if you've ever seen the Wizard of Oz, there's this moment where it's like, that's the wizard. And there's this incredible, flames coming up and this all powerful and sort of mighty wizard. So from the sort of outside, it looks like, wow, this is incredible. When sort of Dorothy peels back the curtain, the wizard is just this, little bit awkward, kind of nervous person who's pulling a lot of levers in the background to seem sort of powerful and mighty. So we rolled out a Wizard of Oz MVP. The connection to CourseStorm was instead of to the customers that we were working with, it looked like the software was very seamless, very smooth, very powerful. But what was happening in the background is we had several people pulling a lot of levers. So for instance, organizations would just send us the catalog and we would upload it into our system. That's because we didn't build an administration area. We were trying to solve the central question of, do people want streamlined class registration with payment processing built in? And the way to do that is just give them that thing. There's lots more that we can add to the admin area and reporting and all that stuff. But if they don't want the first part, there's no reason to build the rest. So in the background, we were kind of pulling the levers to get their classes loaded up into our system. So no admin area. We were doing the applications for payment processing for them. We had like our own massive Excel spreadsheet to figure who registered for what and how much money did we owe these organizations. And they were like signing checks and mailing checks out to these organizations. Now it's completely streamlined and smooth and no one has to go to any Excel spreadsheets and the funds go direct deposit. But early on, there's a lot of that. And then once you get to a certain point, once we got enough customers, it starts to become painful to sign the checks and mail them. And so you streamline that process and you streamline the next thing. So I think that MVP approach was really critical for us to get to market quickly and to learn what was really important to our organizations. Some of the things we learned early on, or we thought early on, we learned aren't really that important. So we could continue to iterate and build the best features. We also, so there's the learning component and then there's the maintaining the focus. We could have gone in lots of different directions, and then we realized that actually being able to harness our energy and focus it on a single problem in a certain space, we were going to be able to build the best-in-class software and solve that problem. As someone told me once, a little bit of a kind of famous quote is that startups don't die from starvation, they die from indigestion. And that's the thing, like taking on too many things spreads you so thin that that becomes your problem. So that's kind of lesson one. It's not the idea, it's how you execute on the idea. Learn fast, stay focused. The other thing I learned, which I like to consider myself a relatively smart person. I've been formally educated and informally educated all the time. But I learned that it doesn't matter how smart I am, using your network is really the key to moving fast and going far. And that's been so important to us at CourseStorm. So some of the networks that we've been able to take advantage of, and if you're listening and located in Maine, I think Maine is a great place to start a startup. We have been incredibly fortunate. One of the ways is funding. We've got some really great funding sources here, particularly for early stage startups. MTI was a tremendous funder for us. The Maine Venture Fund, Coastal Ventures, the Bangor Angels, Maine Angels, the Finance Authority, and then lots of individual people who are just really interested in promoting entrepreneurship. So using those networks and getting connected to those networks was really key for us to fund the stages of growth for CourseStorm. The second is education. I'm an avid reader, so I've read lots of business books and continue to do that to help guide CourseStorm. but the Top Gun program was really early help for us and helping us to just sort of hone the business idea. That was key. Scratchpad helped us go even further, and that was a great accelerator program that happens here in Bangor, and allowed us to focus on CourseStorm for a few months and really get some education to move it much more quickly. It's actually what led to me eventually selling the web development firm and focusing full time on CourseStorm. And then the University of Maine, which is right down the street from us. Shout out to them. The reason I'm here, because my spouse is still a professor at the University of Maine, but their innovation engineering program was critical. They're the ones, when we had that first plan of we're going to spend 1.5 years developing the software, and then we're going to see if anyone wants to buy it. They disabused us of that notion. So, and really grateful for saving us a lot of time and getting us to market quickly. And then mentors. I mean, we've had some really incredible mentors. This is from, getting connections from MCED, the Upstart Center, all the funders that I mentioned. They're not just, providing capital for us to move forward, but lots of them have made incredible and important connections for us. And then I typically, at least once a month, connect with other CEOs in the Maine startup community. I've learned a ton from them, because what we learn is that we all have different technology products, but the problems are pretty similar. And if you find you're running into a problem with your company, the chances are someone else has experienced that problem and has some ideas on how to solve it. And they're likely located right here in Maine. So you can grab coffee with them, you can hop on a Zoom. And I have found the Maine community overall to be just incredibly giving. The entrepreneurs, the successful entrepreneurs that are in this space, I feel like it's easy to pick up the phone and get in touch with someone and get the help you need. So that's been key for us. And then lastly, this is the most important thing for us at CourseStorm. It's not the product. It really isn't. Someone else can code this product. You've seen it. Someone else can develop it. It is not that. For us, it's the people associated with it and the people that we're fortunate enough to work with. And Matt and I spent a lot of time trying to hone in on the right CourseStormer. Who is the next hire at CourseStorm? And we started to get really good at knowing meeting someone and very quickly determining wow, that person, they could be a future hire. They could be an employee for us. And so what we needed to do was sort of distill that down. And the way we do it is through our core values. We've got 3 core values at CourseStorm. There's simplicity, helpfulness, and growth. And while lots of companies could have really similar core values, it's the way that we live them out at CourseStorm that makes all the difference. So we're looking for people, and we do this not only through our software, but the people we hire, we're looking for people that can take complex problems and distill them down, get to the core, get to the root, simplify them, because life's complicated, right? It gets more complicated, it seems like every single day, and more complex every day. So how do we simplify that, both through our software, both through our interactions with each other, through our interactions with our customers? We're looking for people that have a unique skill in doing that. We're also a really empathetic group. So we're looking for people that want to be helpful, that really want to help our organizations and be able to empathize with the problems and the challenges that they have, and then propose solutions. That also, goes to, sometimes we can't help everyone. We're not selling to everyone. So occasionally we'll have an organization come, they think they're a great fit for CourseStorm, and we'll tell them, actually, the most helpful thing is for you not to use CourseStorm, because you're not a good fit and you're not going to have a good experience. So our salespeople are trained to do that as well. And then the last one is growth. Obviously a startup company, we are in a high growth area with lots of opportunity. And that actually has challenges. That's exciting, but it has challenges. So we're always sourcing people who we see potential in, and people that are passionate about growth themselves. we're facilitating that in the educational organizations. We're helping them grow their enrollments, we're helping them connect to students who want to go through a personal growth journey. And we do that same thing with our staff. So we're always looking for people that have the other core values, and they might not have all of the skills that they need for the job, but if we feel like they're passionate and they can grow, we will add them to our team and help them go on that journey with us. So those three things are really important to us. It's how we hire, it's how we promote, it's how we think about our work here at CourseStorm. And that's like what makes a CourseStormer. And I have been super fortunate to work with some really great people. I would also be remiss saying at this point, if I didn't say it, we are hiring for lots of roles. So if this stuff resonates with you and our mission resonates with you, please check out our website. We've got a few more that are going up, but we're hiring for 5 roles right now. So please reach out to me. And if this doesn't resonate with you, that's fine too. Like, there are lots of other startups out there and lots of other organizations, and go work for one that resonates with you. So these are a few people that I've had the pleasure and privilege to work with over the time that I've had been at the helm of CourseStorm. Some great people. My co-founder there, Matt James. That would be the other lesson. Get an incredible co-founder. I lucked into getting an incredible co-founder, and we've been on a really great journey together. Just again, a few people. We're a happy, smiling bunch, and really again, sort of privileged to work with each and every one of these people. And as kind of we're heading into a season of Thanksgiving, as I said to them all recently, I'm just really grateful and thankful that I get to work with these people who inspire me. So that concludes my time, and I'll stop sharing my screen and be happy to take any questions.
Ryan, really wonderful presentation here. Thank you so much. And for folks watching at home, please feel free, if desirable, to jump in with a question or two. But maybe to kick it off, Brian, touching back on a little bit of your origin story, what did you pilot or sandbox CourseStorm in any particular region or target market? What did that go to market? What did that look like relative to your go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, because the opportunity is big. There's lots of different markets and whatnot. We did start with the adult and community education space. We were really fortunate to work in the early days with the Maine Adult Education Association. And so we knew they had a need, and we were able to deliver something for them early on. There's 75 or 80 programs just here in Maine. So that was a sort of one of the first proof points, but it was really before this version of CourseStorm launched. But we went looking for similar kinds of organizations. So some of our first customers, one was in Kansas and a couple in Connecticut. And that was in the adult education space.
And maybe just as a quick follow-up on that, how long did it take you to secure, say, your first kind of three clients or 3 businesses?
Well, I mentioned that kind of short development process, 3 months. There was a month before that we did customer development. So we actually wound up calling a bunch of these organizations in the adult education space. We called 50 of them and said, hey, this is what we think your problem is. Is this right? We're considering building some software. So before we put any code down, we called 50 organizations. And once we heard it was resonating, we called them, we asked them during the interview, hey, if we build this solution to that problem, would you be interested in piloting it? So it was actually pretty quick from once we just like picked the phone back up and said, hey, remember me from 3 months ago? We built the thing, and do you want to try it out? So it's probably like the first month after the software was ready that we were able to get, 3 customers, 4 customers.
Wow, that's awesome. That's impressive. Just pausing here for a moment on other questions as folks maybe distill thought, but maybe I'll just continue quickly. Brian, if applicable and if you feel comfortable, can you touch on what the future is for CourseStorm. Are you looking at any particular new technologies or innovations, for example? And if there is an exit in mind and you feel comfortable discussing that, I think we'd be interested in hearing.
Yeah. So again, we feel like there's a lot of opportunity ahead of us, and I'm not ready to give up the helm of CourseStorm just yet. So it's been a fun journey, and I still have a tremendous amount of energy for our mission. So there's at some point, I'm sure there will be some exit, and I won't always be the CEO, and that'll be healthy for the organization. But right now, we're focused on let's get to those 3 million students, and let's get there as quickly as we can. So we're maintaining that focus on the arts and culture market, community education, and that workforce training, which happens at community colleges. We've seen lots of opportunity both at the community college level, but also that, like I said, that arts and culture space. People are, after being locked in for a long time, people are looking to reconnect in person and, connect with their community. So some of what these classes do is just get some people together in small groups. And when you're learning something alongside someone else, you share similar interests. So that's really important for us. Again, we're going to continue the growth story, 2 more doublings in the next 4 years, let's say. So we're going to keep hiring, and we're on the path.
Thank you. What an incredible journey. And just pausing here for additional questions.
Hey, Brian, really impressive to see the incredible growth that you've had over the past few years. I'm curious to see who are some of the mentors or the companies or the partners that CourseStorm has had over the years who have helped you realize this vision for how you want to see CourseStorm grow in the future and in the state of Maine and beyond.
I want to mention names, but I'm going to leave a whole bunch of people out. So I as I said, lots of those organizations that we work with, they've connected with us. We have a great board. I've had great chairs of our board. We've had, it's too many to mention. I would love to shout out individuals' names, but I will forget a bunch of them, and I don't want to do that. But really, I have found that connecting with, getting involved in the sort of entrepreneurial ecosystem, and here in Maine, that there's like 1 degree of separation between me and like everyone else that's starting some company, and there are people. The one thing that's been really helpful for me is learning from people that are a couple steps ahead of me, and ahead, so to speak, or have been through something, and I call it like drafting off of them. Like if you're like in a bike race, you just get behind the fast people, and then and it's the same kind of thing we've done in CourseStorm. I've found someone who's running a software startup that has already exited or raised money or done things that in our early days we hadn't done, and just learned from them. So we've been very fortunate there that the Maine community is so giving in that way.
That's awesome. Just one other question, just curious, since you did bring up the concept of money and raising capital, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs or those who are looking to launch their own business when it comes to, raising venture capital or looking to give equity to those who are willing to help, raise up their business?
Yeah, there's equity can be incredibly motivating to people, and so that's certainly helpful. But as far as raising capital, I would say having bootstrapped my first company, web development firm, spare bedroom, like put a little bit of money in, get a little bit of money out, and get it to the stage we got it at. That was actually raising outside capital from angel investors or institutional investors was a foreign concept to me. And I talked to an entrepreneur that had done it, and he demystified all of it for me. It's like, you can do this. The opportunity is there. And we started modeling the opportunity, and realized like we need outside capital. Sure, we could like put a little money in, get a little money out, and grow it, but I'm not going to be alive by the time we achieve this vision, So we need to bring in capital to accelerate things. And I would say get it as far as you can. There are many steps in this process. Some of the earliest steps are the Maine Technology Institute. They have been a great supporter all the way through, have been involved in the really early days when we didn't know what we were doing, and we were, had a basic idea, and they funded that. And then, up until even our last round of financing, we've gone through 3 different rounds, and much of the capital has been raised in Maine. So there's a great community here. Get it as far as you can. Seek out MTI. They'll help to connect you to the next level and the next level beyond that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have just a quick, and I know we're getting close to the end of our time here, Brian, but you've spoke about a number of times the great partnership you have with your co-founder, but so much of the time it is a rocky road. And I'm wondering what you did early on to establish such a great partnership.
Matt and I have been fortunate to have worked together for a long time across now 2 companies. And I think that, I think not everyone has that. So I think having that, we had the luxury of time, and we had lots of different ideas early on. I mean, we've had, like I like to say to people, like, we've had all our fights though. Like, we fought all the things out. It wasn't always smooth. It's still not smooth. We disagree about things. That's okay. But we really deeply respect each other and know that while we may come at problems from different places, we both want what's best for CourseStorm and for each other. I would love to say I've got the secret sauce. I would not go to a founder meetup and grab someone, give them equity, and think you're going to, start a successful company. I think it's going to be really tough because, man, the road's hard. It takes it. You get tired. You need someone that can lift you up when you're tired, and you be that source for the other person when they're tired. And so I've been, probably lucky. I would love to say I had the master plan, and but making sure that we respected each other as people first, and maintaining that open and honest relationship. And hey, this is personal, but sometimes we have to talk CEO to COO. Sometimes we have to talk friend to friend, and kind of maintaining that relationship is really important.
Thanks. Great.
All right. For folks that are either viewing at a later time on our YouTube channel or today, please notice we've dropped a link about CourseStorm into the chat feature here for additional follow-up. Likewise, if anybody has more questions, please let us know, and we're always happy to make a digital connect. Brian, again, thank you for an incredible tech talk this afternoon. So appreciate it, and to you and your team as well. Sabrina, I want to send us away.
Absolutely. Happy to do so. Thank you again, Brian, from all of us here at the Growth Council for giving an insightful tech talk. Your presentation has been very informative, and we look forward to the continued growth that we know the CourseStorm will experience. Next month, CMGC will be featuring Amanda Stent, the inaugural director of the Davis Institute for Artificial Intelligence at Colby College, the first cross-disciplinary institute for artificial intelligence at an AI liberal arts college in the United States. That will be on December 9th, Thursday at noon. And for more information on our upcoming network tech talks, please visit our website at centralmaine.org and click on our Tech Night tab. Thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.